two-time consensus first-team All-American, two-time Big Ten Player of the Year at The Ohio State University before 14 seasons in the association after being the first overall pick of the 92 draft. He works for Fox Sports as a college basketball NBA studio analyst, but in this role from WestwoodOne Sports after calling the Los Angeles-based regional semifinal games last night at Staples. Jim Jackson, good to see you.
Okay,
sir.
oh wait, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh,
I know you had this.
I did so much. I did so much. I sat in the right location.
Did you go to the game?
I did. Well, I was saying I sat in the right location during the big moments against Houston. I think that the setup of the final shot was because I got off of the unlucky spot in the room.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You believe that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
You weren't superstitious as a player?
Well, I was. Actually, I still am because I ate a pretzel before a game.
Always?
Which is crazy.
Like
later in my career. First I started out with M&Ms, and then I went to a pretzel. And even when I do my games now, when I call a game, I get a pretzel before the game. I don't know why, no realm of reason,
right?
But I just do it.
What prompted the switch from M&M to pretzel?
I don't know. I was watching. I don't know. Maybe I went from sweets to just more carbs. I don't know.
Well, look. By the way, it doesn't look like it's hanging on.
It's hanging. It's all right. No, I can't play any defense, but I'm fine. I can still
your lateral movement shot a little bit.
I can still shoot it.
The 3-point arc, you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
So, what did you take out of last night's games? What sticks?
You know what's funny, Rich, is that over the last probably 5 to 8 years, you saw this change in college basketball. I think with mid-majors being more competitive, it was eventually going to happen when a 16 beat a 1, or it was a 12 seed, 13 seed make it to the Final Four and win a championship. Just because the dynamics have changed so much because the one and done, the top players are gone. The secondary players are now becoming our star players. But these smaller schools end up having juniors and seniors, like we see with Loyola, who are gritty, got something to prove, and they're just as good. So now the competitive balance is shifted, and it's not that big gap like we saw before. Like North Carolina playing a Butler back in the early 90s, there's no way it was going to happen. But now, I see it. So I'm not surprised.
So the question is when will that be taken into account when they're seeding or even merely selecting teams? I mean, it doesn't seem like we're seeing any shift.
Yeah.
We're still seeing, 12, 13 loss programs from big conferences, in quotes or whatever, getting the 10 seed, 9 seed, when there are smaller conference teams that don't have a shot because they didn't win their tournament.
But what's the weight system? That's the question, because I don't think any system is going to be perfect, because whoever we select, a lot of times, there's always going to be something there. You take Loyola. They won the MVC, 29 wins, but yet and still they went on the road and beat Miami, okay? But yet and still, when you weigh their schedule, their non-conference, who they played, who they beat, compared to a Duke or North Carolina, that if that's the scale we're going to weigh it on, the quad 1 wins versus a quad 4 losses, things like that.
But Porter Moser probably can't get those guys on his schedule.
And that's the thing. They don't want to play him now. I can guarantee you that. Okay, they don't want to play him. But before he probably could. But it's a lot tougher. So I don't know how we balance that out with the smaller schools to be able to be viewed upon like a North Carolina in regards to scheduling, putting them and having them have a higher seed once the NCAA comes around.
So it's interesting that out of last night, I gave you the whole sort of large scope of what you could take out of last night, that the highest seed team that actually destroyed its opponent is not the first one out of your mouth, Jim. I'm wondering if there's something to that.
Well, actually, I had Michigan in the Final Four, my bracket early, because here's the thing I've learned. Being from Ohio and losing to Michigan in the Elite Eight, and I'll tell you what, anytime this game comes around,
yes,
okay, every year, and it comes on Classic Sports, so they play our Elite Eight game against Michigan, I'm hoping for a different result, but it doesn't change.
Hey, I'm hoping eventually I'm hoping the timeout doesn't get called against North Carolina also, or it's not granted every single time.
I know, but what I've learned by covering Michigan is the genius behind John Beilein. Okay, and I really saw it back in 2014 when they played Syracuse, and he kind of dismantled that 2-3 zone, okay, in just his thought process. And the way he's accepted us when I was with the Big Ten Network, he opened his doors to us to be able to have, full coverage of the team and kind of insight into what he was thinking. So as I watch him coach, and I'm just sitting there watching this Michigan team, you got 4 players basically outside of Xavier Simpson that can shoot it. They share the basketball. They're unselfish. They play together. High intelligence. So I'm looking at the game and I'm watching Michigan. I said, this Michigan team, based on where they're seated, can get to a Final Four.
And Simpson can play some serious defense.
He's from Ohio. I mean, what you expect? What you expect? He's from Ohio.
You know that there's those state lines get crossed quite a bit.
I know.
You know that. So, but what is Beilein's genius then? Take me inside what you see and what is being done seemingly year after year, molding a Clay into a championship run potential.
You know, he did it at West Virginia, but probably didn't have the same caliber of players. Mm-hmm. You know, when he had, Trey Young and Glenn Robinson III, he had, Tim Hardaway Jr., that's when you saw everything kind of come together because these were pros he had finally to run his system. And that system and those pros took him to the championship game. The ability for him to understand the talents, the strengths of his players and put them in those situations. He's not going to have a prototypical center, which his game doesn't have. But a Mo Wagner, what he's able to do on the court to stretch the floor, to open up the passing lanes and driving lanes, he puts guys in position. The spacing is great, but he puts a premium on thinking the game. I'm going to pass on time, on target. I'm not going to turn the ball over. And we're not going to beat ourselves. And honestly, this year, that's probably one of their best defensive teams that nobody's really talking about. That's what allowed them to win their first two games when they weren't shooting well.
Jim Jackson, WestwoodOne Fox Sports here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before we turn to tonight, what do you make out of Kentucky not shaking hands? I mean,
I don't like it. I mean, because if when you win, you're celebrating, okay, and you shake hands and you do everything you want to do. The losing team comes to you. When you lose, you lose with dignity. Okay, let me tell you something. 67 teams are going to lose. There's only one that's going to walk away and be happy. Coach John Calipari should have got those guys and brought them back out the locker room and went out there and shook their hands because we all hate to lose. You think I wanted to lose to Michigan after we beat them twice? But you know what? I had respect for the other locker room, and I shook their hand. And our coach wasn't going to allow us not to do it anyway. So I think it is a sign of disrespect because when you're winning and you're on top, everything is great. But when you lose with some dignity.
How come that doesn't happen in the pros?
It's never been part of it, though.
In the NBA, I know.
But now individually, you may go up to a friend, to somebody you know, and tell them. Now, you see it a lot more, I think, in today's game with a lot of guys after the game having conversations and talking.
Right.
Before when I came in, we might point a finger, be like, all right, good game, and walk off. Now, a lot of guys really interact after a game because they grew up playing AAU together, these all-star games together, so they have more of a personal, I think, relationship over the years. So now it's no big thing for them to have a conversation, to shake hands, to do things after a game.
But it is definitely an unwritten rule that you don't believe should be violated in college.
No, at all. After the game, win, lose, or draw, you go shake the opposing team's hand, and you walk off the court.
All right, so Jim Jackson, WestwoodOne, you're going to be calling the regional final game here between Florida State and Michigan. Let's talk about tonight. You've got Texas Tech, Syracuse, West Virginia, and Clemson against Purdue, Duke, Villanova, and Kansas, respectively. Which lower seed do you think can continue this lower seed uprising that we've seen?
Well, Syracuse, just from the fact that it's funny because I'm watching the game when they play against Michigan State in the zone defense, and I'm just like, I mean, they're long, they're athletic, they don't look like it. They really can't score. That's why they want to hold you to like 52 points. But it's something about that zone because guys are not accustomed to playing against them, Rich. I mean, all year you're playing against man-to-man. Somebody is sprinkling in a 2-3 zone, but it's not for the whole game. You got to play against that zone the whole game. And the way you got to beat it is I think you got to isolate and make it more 2-on-1 situations, whether it's in the corner or up top. But Syracuse is one of those teams. A few years ago, they came in and everybody was saying the same thing. They shouldn't be in a tournament, and they
went on a run. But
that's right.
Duke has played Syracuse before, and Duke runs the 2-3 itself this year.
But he did it. Krzyzewski did it because he wanted to play Marvin Bagley and Wendell Carter together defensively. If he doesn't play zone, they're going to get eaten up man to man. So Mike is smart. Forget it. Play zone. We can rebound out of the zone. So it's going to be interesting, two teams, but Duke shoots the ball a lot better. Syracuse doesn't. So advantage to Duke.
So you think tonight's going to be more chalky than last night?
Yeah, I think it is. If you look at, Villanova's who I picked too also to win it all, just because one, I love Jay Wright, but they got 5 guys that can shoot it on the court. Their centers are shooting 3-point shots. They don't turn the ball over. I mean, it's fabulous to watch how they play unselfishly. I mean, West Virginia, can they transfer that press over? Can they score enough points? Can they not go through those scoring laws? All it takes is 3 to 4 minutes in a one-game scenario. That could be your season. So I think it's going to be more interest in interesting games, I think, tonight than it was yesterday.
Okay. Well, I mean, we did see some close ones. There was one right in front of you, though. I mean, I could not believe that they were just throwing that ball in the ocean.
It was due
last
though.
night.
It was due. Think
they
about
were overdue.
it.
They had Michigan had 2 poor games, and Florida State. I mean, they also had a round of 32 moment where it looked they were dead.
I know.
And so the Seminoles are a good team, and they are really well coached.
But you know what? Here's the funny thing
Really
about
well
it.
coached.
They're not. They don't impress you with. They don't have that one player that you just like. Okay, wow, he's NBA. But what
Does Michigan though? I mean,
I'll tell you what. When Mo Wagner is playing,
yes,
I mean he's an NBA player.
Well, he could do. I mean, he can run the floor. He can pass.
shoot
He
it.
can shoot threes. He can.
But
post
he
up.
looks the part too.
Okay.
But here's the thing. We were interviewing Coach Hamilton. He said this to us. I thought this was very genius. He said, "Listen, we're not the blue blood programs. Okay, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Syracuse, and ACC. Their 7 is going to be better than our 7, but our 11 is better than their 11." And what he means is we're going to go deep in our bench and play 11 guys and try to wear teams down. So if we're there at the end of the game, now you're mentally fatigued, and we have the advantage. So he understands who they are as a team. They're not going to get the 5-star player. They're not going to get the one and done. But he's built a program like he did at Miami and some other places that are built on quantity with a little bit of quality in there in order to be successful.
All right. So I want to take a break, come back, talk NBA with you if we can, okay? Because we're getting down to the nitty-gritty right here. And just last night, Brockman, I had a thought because I saw a great moment last night in the Eastern Conference. Made me want to back my play on the Sixers a little bit more.
Ooh.
I think I know where you're going.
Okay,
Oh.
and it might be a hot take involving LeBron James, but since you work at Fox, you're used to that.
Hot takes.
Yeah.
I got you.
No plank necessary.
Jim Jackson, when we come back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Jim Jackson here from Fox Sports and WestwoodOne. Perfect timing. News is breaking. Chris Brockman, give him the news right here that's just broken in the association.
Yeah, the Celtics have announced that Kyrie Irving, who's celebrating a birthday today, it's 26, will undergo a minimally invasive procedure on his left knee. No timetable on return. Adrian Wojnarowski added that the timetable will come after the surgery tomorrow. Source says expectation it will help alleviate the soreness that he's been dealing with this year.
So my take on that is knee surgery is minimally invasive as long as it's not your knee.
They got that right. Exactly. They can put all the language you want, but anytime you got to cut on something, you just don't know what's going to happen. But in today's world with technology and the way they do surgeries, he should be fine. But it's just tough for Kyrie. Remember, he was talking about having surgery before the trade.
That's right. Didn't he use that as a threat?
Yes. They said, well, if something happens, I'll just have surgery and sit out. So how much was it bothering him during the course of the year is the question. Because he was playing phenomenal basketball.
He was.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
So that would tilt a little bit of the balance, one would think, and then the way that the Cavs have been playing recently.
I didn't think Boston was ready quite yet to overthrow Cleveland.
Even with all the struggles that Cleveland's been going through.
No, because you got to understand something. Again, it's a 7-game series. It's not 3 or 5. The Boston team, the guys that you're going to lean on heavily were young with Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They were young. So to be able to come into this league and to win in the Eastern Conference Finals, to get to the finals, to beat a LeBron James, a Kevin Love team, that's tough. I don't care how good Kyrie is and Horford, and Brad Stevens is still young from that perspective. So it's almost like, when Detroit had to get through Boston, when Chicago had to get through Detroit, it was a process. It took a minute of maturity, of kind of getting your head beat in a little bit.
Right.
Then you finally got over the top. So I thought it'd be an intriguing story, but I didn't think Boston could really beat Cleveland in a 7-game scenario.
So then, who can beat Cleveland in a 7-game scenario?
Golden State.
Well, no, I've got an idea here.
Right.
Should I grab the hot take plank for this?
I think you should, yeah.
All right.
Because this is about to be. I
What?
mean, it's not scorching, but it's pretty hot.
Okay, here on this show, when there's a hot take, I grab this piece of wood. What was it? Kennesaw State did that?
That reminds me of
Yes.
a paddle, man. I don't like that.
Okay. Well, it's got a Rich Eisen show pullover from our Super Bowl shows back in Arizona.
All right.
So I clutch the plank when I'm going hot taking.
Okay.
But I called the Sixers as a playoff team back in October. I saw Embiid looking healthy, and I just saw what Simmons was supposed to be and was looking like in November. I thought they were making the playoffs. It looks like they might take on Cleveland. And as I clutch this hot take plank and just seeing Embiid last night take a no-look essential 3-point shot last night, I thought this is going to be the April for Embiid to just capture the fancy of this nation. And the Philadelphia sensation of the Super Bowl, they're still feeling it in that town. They can one. I think they're going to one and done the Cleveland Cavaliers.
One and done what?
One and done the Cleveland
Like what?
Cavaliers. Like
What
beat
does
them
it- what do
in
you
a
mean?
7-game series.
Seriously?
Knock them out. Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah, why not?
So because
JJ
Michigan,
Redick's making the threes.
because Michigan won last night, that gives you all this exuberance and confidence right now that you
No.
actually think
No, I'm an observer of the game.
of what game?
The association.
So what gives you that kind of confidence based on the season and the games that Philly played against Cleveland with Isaiah and Post
Right.
that they can beat this Cavs team in 7? And I like the Philly team.
It's why I'm clutching a piece of wood right now. While I give you this, Jim, I don't.
But it's a
But
hot take.
at least I give you. At least I'm not just masking it and just saying that I truly, truly, truly believe it. But I feel it. I feel it.
okay.
I have a feeling, a sensation.
Well, you got to watch what you eat in the morning. Sometimes
I didn't have my
be a different
pretzel before
feeling.
the show.
No, but I like the Philly team, but they're not ready. Come on, they're not. They got too many holes.
So you say LeBron wins East?
Yeah, who's gonna beat them? Listen, did you see the Toronto game the other day?
did.
Did you? Okay, so
He's as great as he's ever been.
let
LeBron.
me explain something. Rich, you've been around. You've covered it a long time.
Yes.
We're about the same age, 47, 48.
Yes, sir.
We've seen, and I've played against some of the best that have done it. In year 15, to do what he's doing. Now, the game is different. The rules are different. I granted, that's the case. But to not have a major injury, to miss games, basically to have rest, to drop a triple-double at 16 in his 15th year, to have 37 points, 17 assists, and no turnovers.
I'm sorry. The only reason why I'm laughing is because on the TV side they split screened us
Yes.
with a topic bar at the bottom, just because they think we're having an argument. Just because we're
Mike.
talking LeBron
Mike, you have some
doesn't mean
fire.
we're arguing.
It's funny too, but think about that. Think about that headline. It's not with the Cavs in the
It's
East.
with LeBron. We're used to that.
It's like whoever LeBron is playing
Sure.
with, they got a chance to win it.
Thanks for coming.
Come on, man. Anytime.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.